done by Nicole Gordon, who is a social worker. She works at the Center for Resiliency and Wellbeing at Phoenix Children's also. She considers her practice to be rooted in personal and social transformation. She's worked with various individuals, groups, community, youth, adults, and teams to create eclectic methods, which I love, include expressive arts, humor, conversation, and other evidence-based techniques. She graduated from Western Kentucky University and Temple University School of Social Administration. She's worked in a variety of behavioral health settings, and we are now lucky to have her at the Center for Resilience and Wellbeing, helping us build the program as well as seeing patients. And then LaDon Deiu, who is a nurse. She is our program supervisor and one of the wellness nurses at our Center for Resiliency and Wellbeing. She got her bachelor's of science in nursing from Grand Canyon University, and she has been instrumental and pretty much has built our program. Before she was a nurse, she worked in the PCH wellness program in the PCH injury prevention program. And she was also a wellness program ambassador, a member of the Trauma Informed Committee, and she participates in projects with our Center for Cancer and Blood Disorders. She has a ton of experience in community outreach and has used that for our benefit and our patients' benefit. They're going and getting their slideshow set up, and they are going to talk to us about things we can do in the office when it's all falling apart and it's Friday afternoon and somebody's having a meltdown. So Nicole and LaDon, thank you so much. It's all yours.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, and that, you know what, that does happen, right? Friday at 5. So I guess I want to start by saying thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this process and the conversation, really. You know, we all want to help our patients heal and to grow and to learn. And, you know, being a part of the Center for Resilience and Wellbeing honestly puts me and others in a position to support that process. So, you know, when we're talking about a patient coming in, and when I first started thinking about, you know, what we're going to talk about today, thinking about inspiring calm in the exam room or when someone comes into the clinic, right? I thought, you know, where does it begin? Like, whose role is it to find it? How are visit incomes impacted by the regulation, if you will, that's in the room? So kind of what I basically came to, what you can imagine, and honestly that we've been talking about all afternoon, is that it's really everyone's responsibility, right? The parents have a responsibility, the children, the patients have a responsibility, but also we have a responsibility. So just some factors to consider. You know, when children and patients are coming into the room, you know, they may fear that they're going to be separated from a parent. They may be in pain and not feeling well, of course. They may misunderstand the origin or the intention of direct communication, which we'll talk a little bit about. They don't know necessarily what's going to happen. They may have a history of trauma, and there may be a family dynamic that has found its way into the clinic. And so, you know, just kind of as we go along and we're talking today, I really want to just kind of make sure that we're keeping those factors kind of in our purview, if you will. And then kind of what, if we are able to coach, I like sports, if we're able to kind of coach parents either before, supporting them with having the pregame conversations with their child, right? Talk about why they're going to the doctor, talk about their fears and concerns, discuss ways that they can practice calm and remain calm. Developing that plan and is going to be important because if the more that they are able to practice the mindfulness, the more that they're going to remember when they need it, right? That muscle memory part. So, and the mindfulness activities can include everything from breathing, stretching, visualization, listening to music. It really depends on the individual, what works for them, right? Talk to the parents about modeling being calm. especially if you know that in previous visits, there have been some challenges and you want to support that, you want to support the parent. We can support the parent at learning these things, as well as, letting their children know that they are doing this to help model and create change within the family. Parents can also encourage kids to ask questions, and when all else fails, bring a toy or a safety object. All right. So a thing that also, when we're talking about like when the parent or the patient comes into the building, we don't really know, we don't have much information about kind of what's happened to them or throughout the day, right? Other than their reason for coming in, we don't know how they slept. We don't know if they ate. We don't know if, they are feeling well or anxious already before they get there. And we don't know if they've had any social experiences that have really put them in a different space. So keeping that in mind as we're walking into the room, as you're walking into the room and creating that connection and a bond, as you're supporting that family going down the healing path. Right? I'm going to say that because we can only control ourselves, right? We can only talk about how we're going to move forward and create change. So a lot about what I'm going to talk about today is really going to kind of be in the professional realm, right? And it'll definitely cross over into the patient responsibility, but we're really going to talk about what professionals can do when they're in the situations. So with that, are you ready, right? Are you ready to inspire trust and regulation? So that means, for many of us, being prepared, understanding what the purpose of the goal is of the visit. And did you do your self-regulation pre-check? Like, are you prepared? Are you rushing? Are you sleepy? Are you hungry? Are you anxious? Are you feeling grounded or safe and safe? If not, that energy is going to go with you, right? That mood is going to go with you into the room. So really being aware of how you regulate and, kind of put the day aside before you go into the room is increasingly and super important as we are, moving into that helping phase, right? I'll give you a story. So recently I was going to the dentist and I was great. There were all kinds of social distancing practices that, they were had in place, and I was great. I was feeling grounded. I was feeling safe. I was looking at my phone, not looking up, and someone comes to me very quickly with a thermometer wanting to take my temperature. So immediately I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So, and immediately from there, I felt that I was not safe from like lethal harm or things like that. But I wasn't sure how well they were going to consider where I was in the moment, right? Because the dentist is a very stressful place to be for some people, me. And what I really wanted was to feel safe and connected. So I go back, I'm in the chair, I'm not feeling safe, I'm not feeling connected, I'm feeling a little irritated. Doctor takes one look at me and says, how are you today? And I told her the truth because I felt safe, because I felt like she took the time to ask and felt connected in that moment. So I just wanted to kind of put that in there as a way to kind of illustrate how when we approach patients in the manner that we do, it can really set this tone and set the stage for how well they're able to engage. All right, so, too quick. All right, so, so as we're going through and we're talking about, really wanting to be in the room and really be there and be safe and create an environment of safety and connection, I personally participate in it's my own little ritual. I do this kind of breathe, relax, smile, right? And I'm going to encourage you to also find a process that before you enter a room, before you, reach into your toolkit of health and healing, that you also take a look, take a mirror and say, you know what, am I breathing? And for me, I take 2 to 3 breaths to calm my nervous system, you know, get myself together. Then I might take one more to remember to relax my shoulders, because if I go in there like this, then that's what I may get back, right? Not a guarantee, but I may get that back. And also, I like to smile, which for me, my smile is my memory of gratitude. So anything that can help you to reduce your stress, reduce your anxiety before moving into that situation where you're now the person who's helping, you're now considered to be one of the experts in the room. And you're creating that bond. So making sure that you're feeling regulated and aware and present is very important, right? So, and really super awesome, LaDon's gonna take us through a breathing exercise at the end of our little discussion. All right, so genuine and authentic interaction, right? There is nothing that will take an experience quicker than someone who's not paying attention, who's unfocused, right? I don't know if you can remember a time where you were trying to share a story or relate a story and you felt as if someone wasn't listening to you and what that felt like, right? So in this situation, in this instance, paying attention to verbal and nonverbal cues, is someone afraid, are they scared? Understanding the impact of their trauma on their ability to relate to the information that you're providing, acknowledging and evaluating your own implicit bias. We just heard about that, right? So there are several ways that you can do this, but this is, you know, doing that work, doing your work, so that when you walk into a room, you're not making an assumption that can be harmful. And, you know, either an assumption based on race, class, gender, sexual orientation, and ability. There's only a few. Being able to understand where you are and how you think and understanding your privilege around those can really support a safe and calm and loving environment, if you will. Don't overdo it. You know, sometimes parents and kids know when you're trying too hard, right? Keeping it simple and allowing the parent to take the lead, parent or guardian to take the lead, right? And if you are in a situation that becomes conflictual, asking the parent how you can be helpful, as opposed to taking over and parenting in that situation. Right. So we have different approaches for different ages. And one of the things that I want to kind of also say today is that never forget that each time you meet a patient, you are an opportunity to become another safe person for that patient, right? And we're also shaping how they will access healthcare in the future. So we want to be a role model. I would not have said this maybe, you know, 5 years ago, but don't underestimate the power of anime, Roblox, or Minecraft. They are wonderful distractions to conflict and tension, particularly for now that our kids are online a lot more, so they're actually playing these a lot more as their own distractions, as their own ways to deal with their anxiety and stress. In situations where there's a conflict between the parent and child, try not to side with the parent. Remember, if you know, we definitely want the parent on board, but we also want the patient on board as well. We want them to believe in their ability to be well, right? The more that they believe in their ability to be well, the more likely they are to follow instructions and to, whether that be take medication, get more exercise, change their diet, the more safe and connected they are, the more they will feel that they have agency and a responsibility in the healing and the health relationship. Maintaining awareness so that you don't take on the family stress, right? So have you ever walked in a room and noticed that there was tension between the family or there's something going on? You were completely calm and regulated and happy to see them. and then within 10 minutes, you feel yourself regulating to them, right? So there is a part, of our nervous system where we're able to co-regulate with other nervous systems that are near us. And so as we are regulating or co-regulating, we want to be mindful not to go to that place of stress or anxiety, but be the model of calm and reducing stress. Explore ways to reinforce positive behaviors. Saying to, if there's a child who typically runs around the room and is not focused, is not able to sit still, when they are able to, saying, oh, I really appreciate the way that you're sitting there and listening. Thank you so much. That type of positive reinforcement, it feels good, it feels great, right? It feels great to say it, actually. So being in the mindset of, you have the ability to really create and support a healthy self-esteem as well. Stress balls or other tactile items, fidget spinners and things like that, if you have that ability, those things work wonders. The more that individuals have to do with their hands, they're able to, regulate. Maybe they can breathe while they're playing with the stress ball. It just gives them some place to divert their energy to. And if we know that a child has a behavior plan or a support plan, use the plan. A lot of times when we're in situations, it's very simple and very easy to just say, oh, I just want to make it better. I want it to feel better. But what we're forgetting is that there may already be a plan for that youth or that family to move towards calm and to decrease stress or the behavior of what's happening. And if you don't know it, ask the parent or guardian, because in this situation of stress and anxiety, what we've heard today is, our capacity, our understanding, our ability to use, the thinking part of our brain actually goes down when we're feeling stressed, right? And we're feeling anxious. And so reminding the parent that they have that is super important. I think also that it wouldn't be outside of the realm of engaging the family in a breathing or a breath exercise or taking a deep breath. That can help. And if the child sees that the parent is engaged and you're engaged, that may also continue to model that behavior and then and create a more positive experience. It may not work, right? And that's another thing, right? We can talk about and we can put these things into practice all we want, all day long, but it still may not work. But and as much as we are a big part of that piece of that calm puzzle, our powers may be limited to ourselves and understanding what we allow to kind of reach our barrier or our healthy boundary, right? And so helping families to understand that, it's okay, particularly parents and guardians, it's okay, right? We're working through this together. We're going to partner and we're going to bring calm together. And I think that, taking that stance and being a part of that process is something that is more or less, as you grow into your relationship with families, it will become more natural, if you will. And I think for us to really kind of understand and empathize kind of from the bottom up, right? Because we know a lot, right? We know a lot and we feel a lot. But if we're asking families to kind of identify what's happening in their bodies and regulate and create a different narrative for themselves in the moment, why wouldn't we do that as well, right? And so if we're empathizing and creating the space for this co-regulation piece, not only are we going to model it for the parent, but we're also going to model it for the patient as well. Okay. And when all else fails, breathe, relax, smile, repeat. And I say that because we often forget and we get stuck on our wheel. And understanding that we are a part of the healing and the helping process, much beyond our knowledge and our skill base, we are also human, and we're also attempting to connect so that they can connect to their path of health and wellness. So I'm actually going to prep you guys. LaDon is going to give you guys a.
Thank you, Nicole.
There you go.
We're going to talk a little bit about breathing and just some tips and tricks to do when you're in the room. And I know we've been sitting here for a little while. So first, I just want everyone to take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. So never underestimating the power of just a simple breath is super helpful when you're going to regulate yourself to go into a room. Nicole had just did a great job explaining it, and all the other panelists have done a really great job leading up into this point, that a breathing exercise and co-regulating, and I call it mirroring as well, is super important when you're going into the room. So if you go into the room upset and worked up, the family's going to feel that, and they're going to mirror, just as Nicole had said. So I'm going to give you a few simple tips that you can do to help with patients when they are not calm or regulated in your session. So never underestimate the power of breathing. The exhale is the most important when you are trying to find calm, because the exhale actually kicks in your parasympathetic. And so with that, if you have younger children that you're seeing, or a younger child that just won't calm down, blowing bubbles. Because if they're blowing bubbles, that is one way that they're automatically exhaling. And by exhaling, you're activating that parasympathetic, kind of shutting the amygdala, saying, hey, we're in our fight, flight, or freeze, calming down, so that we're doing our parasympathetic so that they can breathe and calm. If you don't have bubbles, and that's something that you don't want to do, pinwheel. So the old school pinwheel where they blow actually does the same thing. It's kicking on their parasympathetic. It's a way to calm down. Having these simple tools can also help, like if you have a child that's going to have a procedure and experience in your office that might not be pleasant, a shot, anxious already, even just coming to your office sometimes, like Nicole had mentioned, can be a stressful experience. So it's a great way just to calm down. If you don't have tools such as these, things you can also do is have them, depending on the weather, it's Arizona, pretend that they're, do you like hot chocolate? And then blowing your hot chocolate if it's really hot. Just that exhale for a little child will help calm them down, and also give them a visual of something different. Something as fun as birthday candles, right? So you could pretend it's a cupcake and a candle, and you can blow out the candle really slow. They can also pretend age, like how old are you? Are you 8? Well, let's try to blow a candle, or 8 candles. How hard would you blow? How long would you blow? And just kind of making it a game, but including that breathing activity helps calm the patient down. If they're a little bit older, you can draw a figure 8 on a piece of paper, and it's an 8 breath, or they can draw it in the air. So if you start and you do the first circle of an 8 is your inhale, and the second circle of your 8 is a little bit bigger, is your exhale. So you'll breathe in and then exhale. That can be very calming for a family or a patient, and can also help distract. Things you can do with that figure 8 is you can draw it on a piece of paper. You can have a figure 8 if they can color, if you have coloring available. Say it's someone that likes cars, right? So they can trace their little car, trace your finger. It's an easy way to do that. Also understanding that a family is mirroring you and co-regulating at the same time. So with that, if you have a family or a teenager that's upset and already a little bit escalated when you go in, if you find that yourself is breathing in and just exhaling slow, not exaggerated, but if you just slow your approach down and your breath, their body will start to mirror your body. If you're stressed, they're going to mirror your stress. But if you're also breathing in and exhaling slowly, their body's going to mirror yours. Not only will that help calm you, but it'll also help de-escalate the situation before you even have to approach or say anything. So there are a few simple tricks. Something that I do as a practice and my team is that we do breathing exercises. There's a lot of apps that do breathing exercises. I do a counting exercise where I breathe in, and then on the inhale, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the exhale, I count in my head 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I make sure that my exhale is longer than my inhale. And I do this regularly throughout the day. I know when we're sitting on Zoom, such as this, that, and if you do Zoom patients back to back, there's not that get up opportunity where we've had in the past to like go get a patient or to have a break in between. We can log off and log in. So really intentionally be putting that breath to calm back, recenter, see where you're at, and then help de-stress you just by doing this breath. Kicking in your parasympathetic is really helpful. So Dr. Jablonski or Laura, we're gonna just see if there's any questions that anyone would like to ask Nicole or I.
Thanks, you guys. That was super helpful. I feel less stressed. Right now I don't see any questions, but my biggest question for you guys is the co-regulation piece. If I'm getting elevated, do you truly just stop and breathe in the middle of the visit?
Yes.
When you're getting dysregulated as a provider?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say yes. I would say, give yourself the opportunity to be calm as well. Because if you're feeling stressed and if you're feeling dysregulated, then, it's not good for you. So being able to really kind of give yourself the opportunity to be calm. And then also, that's a part of the plan now. That's a part of the wellness plan because you're teaching it. So, yeah.
Yeah, good point. Great. Well,
with
you
that
guys.
point too, Dr. Jablonski, is that our critical thinking and our amygdala, like our prefrontal cortex and amygdala, don't work very well at the same time. So as a provider, if I'm getting upset, I'm not using my best critical thinking skills to help that family as well. And so I take that thought process that my breathing will help de-escalate so that I can be a better provider too.
Good point. Thank you. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, and we got a question here. Unfortunately, we have to get going. But what I will do is get this person's email. And if you guys don't mind, I'll send it to you and you can give them a response if that's
Happily.
okay.